In this tutorial series, we will replicate the game World War Z in Unity. This will be a really in-depth tutorial series in which we will cover everything like the player movement system, the UI, the multiple weapons. Different weapons will have different damages. We should be able to switch between the weapons and the enemy AI, the UI, the health, the enemy health, the player health, and the animations and all that good stuff. So we will cover everything and we're gonna make it everything from scratch. So of course practically all of this cannot be covered in just single videos, so I will have to break down this tutorial series into multiple parts. This is the first part of the tutorial series in which we will learn how to make the player movement system along with the weapon, so along with all the weapon animations and all that good stuff. So in the end of the video we will be able to make this. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any future videos and you get notified whenever I upload any tutorial video. Maybe the time you're watching this video, maybe I already have uploaded the multiple parts of this tutorial series. In that case, you have to click the first link in the description box below. That will lead you to a playlist that I will create, in which you will find all the parts of the tutorial series that I have uploaded, all in order, so from part 1, 2, 3 and so on. So with that said, let's get started. So here I have a simple scene setup. I'm using HDRP. HDRP basically is high definition render pipeline. So let me just quickly show you guys. I'm using Unity 2018.3.14, and if I come over here and make a new project, I can rename this project to WWZ, as I have just done it over here. You can select the location and you can also set the template. In my case, I have set it to HDRP, high definition render pipeline. If you're making a game for PC, then you have to use HDRP. You don't have to use, but if you want to get good graphics, you can use HDRP. And if you want to make a game that is performance, more of a performance than the quality, then you can make it on a lightweight render pipeline. Basically it is used for mobile devices, but in our case we want to make a game for the PC, so we're gonna use HDRP. Once you do that, you have to just hit create and it will give you a new kind of a scene that will look something like this. Then I simply went in ahead and deleted the example assets and imported this thing, I don't know, Yoponic from asset store. It is free. It's basically just this prototype blocks and things like that. So I just imported them and just placed them like this so that we have some kind of a map kind of a thing. So basically it's nothing much. And then of course we have a main camera, the directional light, some post-processing that is nothing much, but just a simple post-processing that you get from the HDRP. Any volume settings, both of them are the same that you get from the example assets. And then I have this simple scene with a floor, these guys and all that. So basically nothing much is going on. Now if you want to make a game that is third person, of course we will need a 3D model of a character. Now you can go ahead and make your own 3D model of your character using a 3D modeling software like Maya, 3ds Max and Blender. Blender is free, so you can use that one, but if you don't want to make your own 3D model as it is time costly, you can simply go ahead and download it from a website. In my case, I already have a downloaded one, which is this one, and his name is Father. I don't know why, because I haven't played the game. It is this guy is from game called Shadow War Killzone, something like that. So I just downloaded it from here. If you don't know how to get characters 3D models from any game, almost any game, you can see this video in which I show you guys how to get 3D models from any game 2019, and you can simply download them and import it inside over here. And I have these materials over here, so let me just go ahead and real quick add the materials, and this is how it looks like with the materials. There we go. Once you have your character in there, one thing you will need to do is you need to rig this character. Now sometimes you will get a fully rigged character. In my case, mine was not fully rigged, so I had to rig it. So if you want to rig your character, basically it means if you want it to be animated, of course we want it to be animated, so we have to rig it. Basically we have to add some bones in there. So in order to do that, I'm gonna use a site called mixmo.com. Go ahead and upload your character from here. You can just click that and simply go ahead and drag and drop your character in there, and basically it will automatically rig everything up for you. In my case, I have this Wolverine over here. I was just testing something out, and this guy is now fully rigged, as you can see. Okay, so we can go ahead and find multiple animations over here. In my case, we want some kind of a rifle animation, so I'm gonna just say rifle, and my caps lock is on, so I have to close that. And as you can see, now we have all of these good animations. Best thing is that these all of are fully free, so you can just go ahead and download them. So you can see we are here. This is the rifle idle that looks something like this. You can simply go ahead and download this and import it inside of Unity. So if I just quickly download this and say download, it is gonna prepare your download. And there we go, the rifle idle animation is downloaded. Once it is downloaded, you can just simply drag it inside of Unity out here, just like that. And here we have the animation. If I go to the animations, there we go, he is doing the animation. Nothing much, but he's doing a subtle animation. Good. Now one thing that you need to do is you need to select your character, the main character. In my case it is this one. Make sure your rig is set to humanoid. This is a really important thing, otherwise your animations won't properly work. And of course same goes for the animation. Make sure it is humanoid and hit apply. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and real quick download some animations, and yeah, so here we go. I just downloaded these 4 animations. One is idle, that he is just simply holding the gun just like that. Then it is jogging just like that. Then he is also running just like that, and then he is stopping from the running and going to the idle. And all of them, if I select all of them and go to the rig, as you can see, all of them are set to humanoid. This is really important, so you have to set them to humanoid. If I go to the idle, go to the animation, as you can see, I have checked marked all of them that are green. So loop match, loop match, loop match, loop match, you have to simply check mark all of them that are green. If I come over here, go to jog, as you can see, all of them are green except this, so I haven't checked mark this one. Make sure you don't check mark this loop pose, because yeah, it will mess up your animation. So make sure you don't check mark that, otherwise just check mark everything that is green. In this running, all of them are green, so I have checked mark them, and one is red, so I haven't. And in this case, in stopping one, he is stopping like that, so loop is not checked green, so I haven't checked that. Of course we don't want him to loop this again and again, because he does not, of course. And then this is green, so we have set it to yeah. And if I uncheck that, you can see there's a little artifact going on in here, so I just simply checked mark that. If I check mark this one, he just does that, and that is not what we want, right? So good, that is just what we did. So here are 4 animations. Now if I select the player, there is an animator controller, animator component on the player here, over here, and in the controller it is empty, so we have to make an animator controller for the animations. So if I right click, create animator controller, I'm gonna call this one player, just like, oh shit, player. Okay, and if I select the player, drag it the animator controller in that slot, bam. If I double click the player animator controller, as you can see, a animator window opens up, and it is basically empty. These are just a pre-made states that we don't have to take care of anything about. So I'm gonna go ahead and simply drag in the idle first. There we go, and I have to rename it to idle. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drag in the jog. Basically it will work as walk, so I'm gonna just simply rename it to walk. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drag in the run, and we will see about the stopping one later on. We're not gonna use that right now, we can use that later on. Okay, so if I go ahead and right click on the idle, there is a option to make transition, and if I make transition, there is an arrow. If I select the arrow and click on the walk animation, it basically makes an arrow. If I select the arrow, that is the transition, and if I play it over here, you can see there, this is the idle animation and this is the walk animation. So basically it will transition from idle to walk, just like that, basically jog. So it's transitioning, and there is a condition slot over here, and if I say plus sign over here, it says parameter does not exist in the control or content. Oh, I don't know what it said, but yeah, there's no parameter. Okay, so we have to make a parameter over here. So if I select the tab parameter over here and plus sign, and if I say float, float basically is a point value, and if I name it to magnitude, simply mag, and now you can see there is a slot over here, and if I can select magnitude, and if I add the condition that 0.1, that is the magnitude is greater than the 0.1, we are gonna go to the walk and make the transition to that and say if magnitude is less than 0.1. I'm gonna real quick explain what is happening over here. So we just made a loop from idle to walk, and there are two arrows, and one arrow that is from idle to walk says that when magnitude, the value of the magnitude variable is greater than 0.1, we're gonna go to the walk animation, and if it is less than 0.1, we're gonna come back to the idle animation. If I play the game right now and let's see what happens. I'm gonna select the player, and there's the player. I'm gonna select the camera first and say Ctrl Shift F so that the camera comes over here, and now you can see the player is doing the idle animation over here. If I set the value of magnitude to 1, he's gonna complete the animation and then transition to walk, and as you can see he's walking. And if I set this to 0 again, oops, 0, come back to the scene, he is over there and he has stopped. If I real quick come over here, set the camera over here so that we can see what is happening, go to the animator and set this to 1, he's gonna walk, and if I set this to 0, he's gonna stop, just like that. Okay, so everything is properly working. One thing that you will notice that if I set the value of magnitude to 1 right now, the animation of the idle will fully complete, and then it is transitioned to walk. That is not what we want, right? So in order to fix that, we can go to the arrow and just uncheck has exit time is equals to true. So we're gonna uncheck that, and same goes over here. So now everything basically should work. Okay, so basically what we want to do is we want to control the value of the magnitude from the code. So if we press WASD, we want to change the value of the magnitude basically. Now here comes the coding. So if you're new to this channel, then let me tell you guys that we don't do any coding in this channel because we use Playmaker. Everything you just saw in the beginning of this video was made entirely without writing a single line of code. It was made entirely by Playmaker. Now if you don't know what Playmaker is really cool asset that helps you make games without writing a single line of code. It only requires the basic logic of game development. It does not require you knowledge of the code and syntax and all that. It basically helps you make games with just simple, clear logic. So if you want to get Playmaker, you can simply download it from Asset Store or buy it from Asset Store. It's not free, but if you want to download it for free, the link will be in the description box below. I personally will provide it to you guys for free, so you can just simply go ahead and download this. So once you've downloaded, you will get something like this. You will get this Playmaker, and you have to just simply drag it inside of Unity just like that. Bam, and it will uncompress that, and it will say import. You have to just simply say import. Once it is imported, you will see a window something like this, and then you have to say install Playmaker. Install Playmaker. I have made the backup. Go ahead, and it will decompress, and then you will have to say import again, just like that. Okay, so you have to just say import, and once it is imported, you will be able to see this folder, the Playmaker plugins, presets, no, not presets, gizmos, and yeah, these good things. Okay, so once you have imported Playmaker, if you go to the player, say add component and say FSM, you will see the Playmaker FSM over here. So this is basically the Playmaker. It is basically kind of like a flowchart. So in here, what first thing we need to do is we need to check whether or not the player is pressing the WASD. So how we check that is by saying get axis vector. Vector basically is a direction, so we're gonna get the direction, and it is already set to horizontal and vertical. Basically, if I go to the edit, project settings, and input real quick to show you guys, horizontal and vertical are here, which basically are A, D and WS. Okay, so WASD, basically this is horizontal and vertical WASD, so it is already set by Unity. You don't have to do anything. Okay, so if the player presses WASD, we're gonna store the direction in a new variable. The vector basically is direction. We're gonna store this in a variable called input vector, and there is also a slot for store magnitude. We're gonna store the magnitude into input magnitude, so input mag. There we go. Now if you don't have to do this, I'm gonna real quick show you guys. If I select the input magnitude and hit inspector, so show inspector. If I come in here and say controls, we should be able to see the input magnitude over here. If I play the game right now, basically the input magnitude is a float is value in points, and when the game starts we are in state 1, in which we are getting the axis vector, and the value of the input magnitude is 0. If I press W, you will see the value of input magnitude changes from 0 to 1. If I press A, it's gonna come back to 1, and if I press WASD, we are gonna change from 0 to 1, just like that. And if I go to the variables, select the vector and say inspector, and if I press W, you will see this value changes to Z in 1. If I press S, it's gonna change in -1. If I press A, it's gonna change in -1 in X and +1 in A when I press D. So basically values are changing on pressing WASD. So that is pretty cool. Now we wanna set the values, and we're gonna use these values to derive the animation. So basically what we are gonna do is we're gonna set this float equal to the magnitude that we get over here. So we gotta go ahead and say set animator float, the magnitude, which is exactly this one, and we're gonna set it equal to the one that we just stored, input magnitude, and we're gonna say every frame basically means every second. Now if we play the game, we should be able to move the character when we press WASD, and there we go, he is doing the idle animation. If I press W, he is gonna walk, and if I release W, he is gonna stop. If I press S, he still is gonna go ahead and move forward, and yeah. So of course we're gonna fix every single bug over here, but okay, so we want the direction also be changed if I press WASD. So in order to do that, we're gonna go ahead and say smooth look at direction, and the direction is the one that we just stored, input vector, and we basically don't have to do anything now, anything else. So if I play the game right now, basically everything should properly work. If I press A, he should come towards the camera. There we go. And he is moving in all directions. Of course, he is not gonna collide with anything at all. Like that. He's gonna just pop out of everything. And he's gonna go right in the stairs and all that. But we're gonna fix everything. But basically, the player is moving with WASD. So that is pretty cool. Next thing that I would like to do is set up the camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the player and say right click, create an empty game object right inside the player, and I'm gonna go to the side view. There we go, and move it up to his hip or the chest position, just like that. I'm gonna call this one camera follow. This will be the point where the camera will follow, and I'm gonna duplicate this and I'm gonna rename this to camera base. There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and drag out the camera base just like that, and I'm gonna select the camera and drag it inside of the camera base just like that, and I'm gonna go ahead and reset the camera transform and bring it out and bring it up a little bit and rotate it just like that, and basically position it like a third-person camera control and bring it a little up, and then also move it back a little bit. There we go. Good. Then I'm gonna go ahead and select the camera base and say add component FSM again, and this time we're gonna go ahead and say move towards. Basically it means follow, move towards, and we're gonna move this camera base to the camera follow. There we go. Make sure the finish distance is 0, and we also wanna move the camera with we also wanna move the camera with the mouse, so we're gonna say mouse look. There we go, and it is already set. I'm gonna decrease the sensitivity to 3 and 3, and let's see if it is working or not. Yeah, one thing that is the y-axis is always inverted, so we will have to fix that. But as you can see, we are now in a third-person camera control. Of course, the y-axis is inverted, so in order to fix that, we're gonna go ahead and say instead of 3, we're gonna set this to -3. Now everything is properly working. Okay, good. So the player is moving and everything is working fine. One thing that you will notice is that if I press W, he is moving forward, right? But if I set the camera direction to that, and if I press W now, he should move in that direction in which we are looking, but he is not. So we have to fix that. So if I come out to the game view, you will see the minus sign just vanishes, because everything that you do in the game mode, it does not save. So we have to just add the minus sign again. I'm gonna go ahead and close that, come back to the player and say edit, and in order to fix that directional problem, you basically have to just simply drag in the camera in the relative to slot in the get axis vector. So now if we save the game and play the game, basically everything should properly work. And there we go, everything is working. He is moving in the direction in which the camera is looking. Now one thing that I am noticing is that we do not have any collisions. Bam. Okay, now we need some collisions. So in order to do the collisions, we are going to use a character controller. So if I select the player and say add component and say character controller, there we go, there it is. It basically looks like a capsule glider. I'm gonna reposition it to move it a little up, decrease the radius a little bit, and increase the height a little bit. There we go, and that will take care of all the collisions. If I play the game right now and play the game, and now we should be able to climb this slope, and there we go, we are climbing and doing all kind of the collisions. Bam, and we are also falling. That is pretty cool. Now if your character is not falling, it means you have not done one thing that I'm gonna just real quick show you guys. If your character is not falling like this, then you have to come out of the game view and select your animations, mainly all of the animations, and you have to make sure you have checked mark these two guys. Alright, in my case I have in the idle, I have in the running, I have checked marked these two things. Okay, so if you have done that, your character basically should fall. Next thing that I want to add is the running. Of course, we don't have any running right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click on the player, and we're gonna make a transition from walk to run and from run to walk. And this time we're gonna go ahead and make a boolean. Boolean basically is true or false, and I'm gonna set this name to run. If running is true, we are going to, if running is true, we're going to the run, and make sure the hash time is false. If running is false, we're gonna come back to the walk. As the time is false. Now we have to control this running true and false from the code. So we're gonna come back to the player, say edit, and basically I'm gonna go ahead and say Control C, Control V, no, and there we go. We have a state 2. Basically it is same as that. I'm gonna delete the set animator float, and I'm gonna say set animator bool. And we're gonna go ahead and set the animator bool run, which is this one. Make sure the spellings are same, so run, and we're gonna set this to true. There we go. I'm gonna copy this and paste it in here and make sure it is false when it is walking. Okay, now we have to transition from walk to run when we hold certain button. In many games, when we hold the shift key, we basically run. So if I go to the edit, project settings, input, and this time if I go to the fire 3, basically you can see it is left shift. Fire 3 is left shift. So these are the controls made by Unity. These are the default controls. So we're gonna go ahead and say get button down. Basically it means when we hold a button, get button down, and the one that we need is fire 3. Basically it is left shift, and we're gonna go to the new event and say run. So right click, add transition, run, bam. And in here we are going to say get button up, which means when we release the certain button, in our case we of course want fire 3, left shift, and we're gonna go ahead and make a new event, say walk. So if we release the shift, we're gonna go back to the walk. Simple as that. Okay, now basically everything should properly work if we have done everything properly. I'm gonna go ahead and play the game and see. So we are walking. If I hold the shift key, he is gonna run, and if I release the shift key, he is gonna come back to the walk. Running, walking, run. Basically he's not walking, he is jogging. So I'm gonna go ahead and real quick change the animation from jogging to walking. So if I search in walk forward loop, and it is over here. There we go. Here's a walking loop. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the walk, drag it in here, and play the game. Now he should walk. You don't have to do it, I just did it for you guys to see that the running animation is properly working. So he is walking just like that, and if I say run, he starts running. Bam. Cool. So it is properly basically working. I am loving it. And he is running and walking when we hold shift. Basically this is the third person character controller, and yeah, it is working. Next thing, of course, we need to add a the gun. So in order to add the gun, and why is this guy floating? So if I say pause the game, come out, select the player, maybe it is the character controller. It is little big, I guess. So if I select the character controller, make it a little smaller because he is just floating. There we go, he's now not floating. Good. Okay, so the character controllers were not set, but yeah, you can fix that. Good. Now we want to add a gun. So in order to do that, of course, you will need a gun 3D model. In my case, I already have downloaded it. You can just go and download it from Sketchfab. I just downloaded it from Sketchfab, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna simply go ahead and drag it in over here. So this is the gun 3D model. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it over here somewhere and position it. So rotate it like that, rotate it like that, maybe make it a little bigger, just like that. Go in here, make it go up, and I guess the gun should be rotated like this. Bam. Good. Once you've positioned it, you have to go to the player, in mix no hips, spine, spine 1, spine 2, left shoulder, left arm, left forearm, and left hand. So you have to just simply drag in the gun in the hand. I'm gonna unpack the prefab just like that. There we go. And now if we play the game and then pause the game, we are going to position it right now. So pause the game, go in the front view, and of course the gun is not positioned properly, so we will have to rotate it like that a little bit, move it in, and I think it is little big, I guess, I don't know. Make it a little smaller, just like that, and do that. There we go. I guess now it's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and copy the component, copy component, get out of the game view. Now you will see the component values will change. There we go. We have to paste the values, and there we go. And if I play the game right now, basically the gun should properly work. There we go, he is holding the gun, and he is also walking with the gun and running with the gun. Good. And this is how you make a third-person character controller. So we in this video we just covered how to make the third-person character controller. He moves around, walks around with the gun, and also runs around. We have set up the camera, and in the future videos we will make a shooting system. So if we go ahead and right click, we should zoom in, and he should do that thing, and then there should be also a crosshair in there, and of course we will add a camera collision because right now we don't have any camera collision. So we are gonna go ahead and do multiple things. We are gonna cover everything, and this tutorial series will be really in-depth and really informative, maybe, I don't know. So if you don't want to miss any future videos, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. And yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, I guess that's it. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you in my next video. Till then, peace out.